All right, so this is the final piece of my self-interviews, and this will be the reflection piece. Basically, I'm going to be reflecting on the interviews that I conducted, that we conducted, and the experience of doing the project, the experience of taking part in the class, and just to sort of reflect on what I've gained from the experience as a final piece, as a closing piece to my part of the documentary. Um, First, I guess I'll start with the interviews that were done. Um, I found that just doing the interviews themselves showed me how many different perspectives that people have on just these two questions that we asked. The first one being on consciousness, and the second one being about the education system. Um, Again, it's just opened my eyes to just the way a lot of people look at things, a lot of different ways that people look at things. I think being in school and being surrounded by students, sort of 24 hours a day, almost all the time, gets you in um, not necessarily a rut, but in a certain way of thinking, in a certain slice of the pie of human consciousness, in a way of looking at things, in a way of looking at life, in a way of looking at um, topics, in a way of thinking itself. Um, Interviewing people and asking them these questions really did shed light on how different people think about things. And that on its own was good. I mean, I think it would encourage tolerance. It's also very, very interesting. And I think being open to other people's perspectives is generally a really good thing. The other thing that I noticed from the interviews themselves, specifically when I asked the questions and I got responses, was semantics. Just a simple question, what is consciousness, for example, has so much semantic value, not just for the speaker and the asker, the interviewer, but also for the interviewee. I noticed that some people thought that I was talking about conscience. Some people um, got the meaning of consciousness, got the word consciousness, but their understanding of it was completely different. Some people just thought of it as awareness, and I'm not saying that it's not awareness. I agree that it is definitely awareness, but to me, it was a lot more than that. Not to say that what other people thought was wrong, not at all. In fact, I completely respect their views. It was definitely very interesting, um, but it just showed me a lot about how what we think about a word, especially a charged and loaded word such as consciousness, might not be the same as what somebody else thinks. A very obvious comment that I'm making, but you don't realize how tremendously different people view things until you actually go out and talk to people and interact with people and ask them questions and actually get them to give you um, a thought out and coherent response. So that was very interesting. I mean, again, being among students all the time, we tend to have similar understandings of what these words entail. So when I ask the question to a student, they'll know what I'm talking about in general. Their answers and their responses might not be the same. In fact, they might be completely different in terms of their beliefs, but they get what they mean when I ask them about consciousness. It's like we have this script, we have this knowledge base or this knowledge pool that all of us have dipped into at some point in time, maybe different parts for each of us, but it's sort of common ground for university students. But I find when you ask different people from different walks of life, they really have a different take on this, and that was also a very sort of an eye-opening experience. Um, and just in general in the interviews, it was really enjoyable. I think it was a lot of fun. Um, it just I've never done something like this before. I mean, I've I guess I talk to random people sometimes out of politeness or if I need help with something, but I've never actually gone up and interviewed them for such a formal or informal project as this is. And so it was a good experience for me to have the guts to go out and talk to people, to approach them in a friendly manner, in a very respectable but approachable manner. But also, I had to be assertive. Um, And I also found that a lot of people didn't want to talk to me, and that was interesting. I mean, it was funny. I thought it would be the opposite, but most of the male people that I tried to talk to weren't as willing to talk to me as the female interviews. I don't know what exactly to garner from that. I thought intuitively I thought it would be the opposite. This strange dude walking up to them in the mall or on the street, asking them questions about life and education. I thought they might be a little freaked out, but they weren't. They were more than willing to give me their answers. So that was one thing that I noticed. Um, yeah, that's I think what all I have to say about the interview process and what I gained from it, and I guess what I noticed. Um, I'm gonna stop here and just talk about the class and the project in general. The next clip.